150 cars here, and each of them is designated to a question that you should ask a loved one, and it kind of just encloses their whole life. It's a bunch of just life questions. So we're gonna be just going through some of these cards, talking to grandma, all that goga moga. You know what I mean?
It's cards that asked you about, the person asked you about things that happened to you in your young life, when you were young, what you remember, and why was this and why was that. Then it goes to middle life. Then it goes to old life.
She's not there yet, so we're gonna wait up.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
How did you get your nickname, Daisy?
Okay. Well, mother and my mother and father they were like, lived on this farm. They were like some of the caretakers, whatever, back in the day. And overseeing workers and all, whatever. And I don't think they had many toys back then, I guess. Anyway, but there was a big field of daisies. And my sister would take me out in the field, and she would pick the daisies, and she'd tie the stems together, and she'd make me wreath, like a little crown, bracelet, necklace. I even have a picture of me in striped bib overalls with daisies on my wrist and my head. I was about a year and a half old, maybe 2 years.
Dang.
That's how I got my nickname, Daisy.
I don't remember you ever telling me that. I don't think
Yeah.
you ever told me that. Everyone just called you Daisy.
Nope, that was it.
Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Where were you born, and is that where you were raised?
I was born in the old John Hopkins Hospital. My mother had 4 other children. They were all born at home. But evidently I was coming out feet first, and they could tell that. So she had me at the old historic John Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. They now have turned that in years later. Of course, now they've turned it into a lab, and all the students learn there and everything. And then they've got a big brand new hospital. But I was born in the old one. And no, I was raised, she lived in Sykesville and then Howard County. That isn't where I was raised, just where I was born.
Feet first, huh?
I don't know how they could tell that, but they could.
You seem like the type, like you just, I don't really want to do a deal.
I don't know. And things has been crazy ever since. They could tell I was coming out. It was not good, so she had to have me in the hospital.
Ready for the next one?
Yes.
What were your parents like?
Oh, Jesus.
You can do one at a time.
I mean, oh, God, what was my parents like? Well, my mom was married to her first husband. She had 4 children by him. And my real dad was her second husband. And he was a sweetheart. My mother was okay, but she was an RN, and she was very, but my dad was a real sweetheart, and he had a way of talking to you and making you understand things on a child's level. Like, I'll never forget, and I've even told my children about this, and they have to laugh, but I'd always follow him around and everything and watch what he was doing, little things. He was always doing some little things, around the house, around outside and all. And he was measuring something. And I know, he was only off about maybe ½ inch or an inch. And I remember saying as a child, well, Dad, that's not that big a deal. It's only off an inch. And he said to me, very calmly, well, if you had an inch on the end of your nose, you'd find out how important it was. A big deal, he said. Because I didn't think it was a big deal. He said, well, if you had an inch on the end of your nose, you'd find out you'd think about a big deal it was. So that made me understand. That's how he was.
Papat was awesome.
Yeah.
Where were your parents from?
My dad was from Tazewell, West Virginia. Little town called Tazewell. And he said that he told my children, he told me as a child, that he lived in a neighborhood that off a tough street. And the further down the street you went, the tougher you were. And he lived in the last house.
Mm.
And I'll never forget, as I grew up hearing this as a child, Jesse's father, my first child, Jesse's father, Jimmy, said to me, he says, Grandma, do you know Pop was lived on Tough Street, and the further down the street they got, the tougher they got, and guess which house he lived in? I heard that from Jesse's father's sister and younger sister, and even the one great-grandchild, Dylan, my youngest daughter's son. And he said that he told the story, and he said, and Pat was like, ha, 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 in the last house. That was his story. And my mother, she was from Montgomery County, Maryland. Nothing much happening there.
How did your parents meet?
I think they met at a dance. Somebody, she was separated from her first husband. And, he was one of the workers that come down from Virginia. Him and his four or five brothers came down from Virginia to work on the farm, on the dairy farm. And her and her first husband got separated, and then he slipped in.
Pap came to save the day. Pap was one of the. I love Pap so much.
Everybody
love
loved him. Everybody
Pap
loved
was
him.
so cool, man. He was so cool. He was so into sports. Like, do you remember he would just have he had a whole composition book notepad filled with
Orioles.
Oriole player records, what bat they hit, like all the way down to each time they went up to bat. Like, this guy was.
When he moved
playing.
in here, he was with us for 15 years. Everybody didn't think he'd live 6 months because he just had not been taking care of himself. But when he moved in here, I took over and made sure he went to the doctors, had all his tests done, everything. He was here like in 1 month of 15 years he lived here. When he first moved in, he liked to always sit in the kitchen at the old house. He'd like to sit in the kitchen and watch TV. So I bought him a TV, and it had and it was, I think it was 19, 20 inch or something like that. And it would take DVDs and cassette tapes, whatever he wanted, VHS tapes, whatever. And he used to sit and watch the soap operas. I never knew he was a soap opera person.
A fiend. 8 in the morning.
He would start as soon as they came on, and I would be cooking in the kitchen, and when I heard a sad part coming on, I'd look around and he's going, poor little old lips was quivering. I thought, I cannot believe this is my father.
That was him though. He also liked westerns. He loved Walker Texas Ranger.
Oh God, yes, and John Wayne.
He loved Walker Texas
I've never seen so glad to see somebody die in my life.
Jesus Christ. Long live John Wayne. Jesus.
So, he drove me crazy with the westerns. Oh my God.
Ready for the next one?
Yep.
What was your grandparents like?
Well, my mom didn't get along with her family too well, so she ended up taking care of her mother, because like I said, my mother had a private nurse. She owned and operated a private nursing home in Howard County. And so she didn't get along with any of them, but when all of them got old and dilapidated, they all came there for her to take care of them. A sister and a brother and her mother and her father. And I didn't really get to know my grandmother all that much. I wasn't as lucky as my grandchildren were with my mom and dad. And but I got to know her a little bit. But by the time she came to live and everything, and she lived in Damascus, up in Montgomery County, and I got to see her a little bit before she passed. Not long, not much. But now my dad's mom and dad, every time there was a wedding or a funeral, or just a weekend to get away, we'd go up to see her and her, see his mom and dad and visit. She was nice lady.
Right. Right. Oh, let me make sure I have these ready. What are some of your earliest memories?
Oh Lord.
That's kind of broad right there.
Oh no, I can narrow it down.
Okay. Go ahead, narrow it down for us.
Well, one of my first memories, excuse me, one of my first memories, my sister, the one that nicknamed me Daisy, her and my sister-in-law, they were at the house, doing stuff and all. It was in the summer, and they were taking care of me, babysitting me. I was just about 6 years old. Maybe not quite 6, yeah, just about 6. And it was in the early spring, and I hadn't started school yet. I wasn't old enough to start school yet. I turned 6 in March. School was supposed to be that September. Well, we had like 10 acres. And way back on the very end of the 10 acres was like a junk pile. And that's where you threw all the stuff, junk, whatever, and everything. Well, I was out in the yard playing and everything, and I wandered back to that junk pile, and I seen a skirt. And I remembered it was my sister's skirt. And thinking as a 5-6-year-old child, I thought somebody had took her skirt and thrown it on the junk pile. So I went back to the house, and I was hollering, Hazel, Hazel. I said, look, somebody, here's your skirt, was on the junk pile. Somebody threw your skirt away. Well, she yelled at me, throw that back out there on the junk pile. Ain't nobody did it, I did it. Throw it back out there and get it out there now. Well, it's kind of scared me. Not didn't scare me bad, but just enough to shock me. I turned around and started running. And I ran all the way back to the junk pile. And just as I got up close to it, I just gave a big throw. And when I did, I lost my footing and I fell. And when I fell on a broken milk bottle. Back in the day, they had milk bottles that were glass. Gallon and quart, all glass. Well, it was a broken milk bottle. When I fell on it, I got up, not feeling any pain or anything at the time. I got up and I start, coming back to the house, and she's standing there. And as I got closer, she screamed. And she saw that my hand was hanging off my arm. I had literally cut my hand all the way through except 1 liter. And it was hitting the back of this part was hitting the back of my arm.
I hate hearing that story
lost
every
it.
time.
She lost it. Of course, my mother was working Taylor Manor as a nurse. So she called down there, and my dad had to be called from work and everything. So they come and got me, and they took me to an old doctor, Dr. Brumball, in Elkridge. And he stuck something up there and tied some ligaments together till they got me to the University Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, University of Maryland, University of Baltimore, something like that. The big hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. And I remember it took 10 doctors, 10 different doctors, 8 hours to sew all that back right to where I didn't lose my hand. I know that's crazy, but I remember that. The 8 hours, 8 and the 10, it took either 8 doctors 10 hours or 10 doctors 8 hours, but they had to do shifts. It was that delicate of operation back in the day.
That's rough.
And I remember when I went in, it was kind of chilly because it was early spring. I was in there so long, when I come out, the flowers were blooming. So I was in there a good, probably 2 months, 3 months. And I remember I didn't get to start school that year. I had to start the next year because they had me basically in a cast from here to here for months and months.
They said you could have had a hook.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's an early memory right there. That's
I'm
a rough one
telling you.
right there. Every time I hear that story, I can't.
I'm just glad they was able to save it. You figure you're talking,
Right.
70 some years ago. But it was at the the big hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. So thank God for that.
Thank
Thank God
goodness.
for that doctor in the middle that they stopped. Because I remember my mother, she had big towels all around my arm. I remember hearing her tell my father, "D, I can smell the blood." And I'm a kid hearing this shit, and I'm thinking, oh, what does blood smell like? But I remember her saying, "D, she's bleeding so bad I can smell the blood." And I was just a skinny old thing, so it didn't take much to cut my hand. But 1 liter.
Ugh. Well, you ready for the next?
I'm ready. You ready? Are you ready for the next one?
I hope so. Well, you told us that your grandma owned a private nursing home. What did your dad do for work?
Dad was a well, his first job, he worked at the Ellicott Mills. He ran a machine that back in the day used to do something with flour or whatever. He ran a machine that the flour was bagged up in bags and everything. And he did that forever. But that's what he did. He worked that machine, that big machine. But then after that, after years and years and years after that, he retired from that and got a job over in Elk Ridge, and it was a tow truck operator, tow motor operator.
Good old Pap Pap.
Yeah,
Pap Pap also served, didn't he? Or was that his brothers that served?
his brothers served.
World War II.
Yeah, in the army. Yeah.
In Japan, I think, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What were your siblings like when you were young?
Well, they were all much older than me. Like I said, my mother was with her first husband. She had my half sister, and then 2 years later she had the brother, and then 2 years after that she had another girl, and then 2 years after that she had another boy. That was Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
And then when she got with my dad, 10 years later she had me. So I was really not that close to them because they were all adults when I was pretty much born. Got along with them, but I was the closest to the one was Joe. He was 10 years older than me. And
Uncle
he's
Joe.
the one. Uncle Joe was the one I was the closest to.
That boy loved NASCAR, man.
Oh Jesus!
He, what was Papa?
NASCAR, and you know who his favorite football player was, and I wish I had the card to this day. He used to save cards. Mickey Mantle. Do you realize what a Mickey Mantle baseball card is worth nowadays? God knows where the hell they ended up.
Was Pop always into NASCAR? I remember Pop watched NASCAR, but was he into it because of Uncle Joe, or was he just into it?
No, he was just into it because the guy that worked down at my Pop used to, but he's called Pop, my husband, used to be quite the big deal back in the day. He was one of the third bosses in line at the architect of the Capitol. He had hundreds and hundreds of employees under him. He knew all the congressmen and their aides, knew all the senators and their aides, and he would take me, when we first met, he would take me to lunch up in the restaurant in the Capitol, and I didn't know it at the time, but I'd be sitting next to the Secretary of Defense or some vice president or some congressman.
Yeah.
They were all, that was their, and he was high enough. He was allowed to go in there and eat his lunch or dinner, whatever. And so he got to know all the people like that. What was the original question?
Well, I kind of veered you off. Like the question I asked was Pop into NASCAR before he met
Oh,
Uncle
well,
Joe?
there was a guy down there, and they would kind of court my husband. And the guys, and you're kind of like these guys court the congressmen and everything, trying to get their votes. Well, this guy would try to get Pop to give his company jobs with his men and everything, so they'd have little things that they would do, and he always had tickets. He had tickets, and he knew a lot of the people at on NASCAR. And so we got to meet a lot of them. So he would have tickets to where we would go to North Carolina, South Carolina, wherever it was. I mean, we would be set up in a suite, not a room, but a suite. I mean, it had a living room, dining room, jacuzzi, all this stuff. And then we'd have tickets to get right there. I mean, we could actually touch the drivers almost. In fact, some we even met. We even had passes. With that, he even would give us passes to go into the I forget what they called it, but into the actual area where all the cars were kept. And I met, what's that one guy that was killed? You mentioned his name the other day.
Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Met him. Met a couple of them. You go into the pit, they called it. And then there was different ones. And so we got to meet a lot of the hoity-toity drivers. But it was all out of that, that he started liking NASCAR and everything. It was more like that.
I don't blame him.
I was the one who got him into football. When I met this man and he told me that he wasn't all that much to football, I thought there was three things that I thought were red flags. He didn't like onions, he didn't like garlic, and wasn't into sports. Well,
What?
that's my life. I can't cook without onions and garlic.
Right.
And I've always been, especially with his dad, I've always been into sports. Football, baseball.
Sounds like a vampire. That's
What?
That sounds like a vampire.
What?
No, they don't like garlic.
Oh, yeah, really. Now, he won't eat raw onions. I won't eat raw, but by God, I cook with onions and garlic.
You have to cook with onions and garlic.
Yeah,
That's
I
kinda like
told him,
the
he
bread
said
and
he
butter.
didn't like onions and garlic. I thought, what planet have you been on? I didn't tell him at the time, but whenever I cooked, that's what I cooked with. And, oh, he just loved it. Didn't say a damn thing about the onions or the garlic. And he learned to like football because that's exactly what the hell he was going to be watching. When the Redskins were there, I was a Redskin. I've got jackets to this day. Even jewelry, earrings people gave me I never wore them, but they'd give me earrings with a football on it. I don't know what they're worth. They're probably 50 years old. But anyway, I got a Redskin jacket and everything's probably worth a fortune, but I was okay till Ravens came, and then I'm a Ravens fan. I like other teams, but the Ravens are my favorite. I like Kansas City Chiefs.
Could you tell me a story or a memory of your brothers and sisters?
Okay. My mother's oldest child, Madeline, couldn't stand her. She was a real bitch. She was 17 when I was born. She was almost 18 when I was born. So what does that tell you? And couldn't stand her. For some reason, she was always jealous of me. And I don't know why. I never acted any different or anything towards her. She was just a hateful person. Nobody could really stand her. And the other ones only stood her because I did. And then the next one was Sonny. I got along fine with Sonny. He was, but like I said, he was older. I got along fine with him. And he was born very, very young. I think my mother said she had to use napkins, handkerchiefs for diapers. He was born that young. They didn't expect him to live. Yeah. And then there was Hazel. That was my favorite. She's the one that helped raise me. She's the one that nicknamed me Daisy, and her and I was the closest of them all. Even almost closer than me and Joe. And then the next one was Joe. Him and I was, he used to taught me how to play catch and all like that. I was a bit of a tomboy. I wasn't a tomboy, but I could handle a baseball. I played baseball in school. And he taught me that how to catch. And I mean, he would throw them at me. I mean, he'd throw me at a baseball so hard when in the glove, it would sting my hand. I never let him know it did it. He would say, "Damn, girl, you're tough." And I thought, you mother fricker, my hands hurt me so goddamn bad. But I never let him, I never broke a sweat. But that was it, yeah.
You kept it tough. How did your family spend time together when you were young?
Okay, my mom was a nurse, so she worked a lot, but she would have what they, I guess you would call, crab feasts. She'd go. She'd send my dad. There was a company down in Baltimore that she'd always call him up and say, "I want a bushel of crabs." To be male crabs, and she'd either get one or two bushel, and she'd have the whole family over. She'd have, the brothers, you know, her sons and daughters and their husbands and all, and she'd have family relatives and all. Some would come from Virginia, where my dad's family was. They were all up in Virginia, and she would have that a couple times in the summer. And a lot of times she'd have, for whatever reason, I remember she'd have a big meal on a Sunday, and it was always she'd have people over for that. I think that's where I got that from, having the family over, because I mean, I love it when the family comes over. It's never too many. I even invite people that don't have some place to go. And but I don't remember my other sisters doing that, or half sisters doing that. But I got that after my mother. I would always have big meals and invite people over, or have the family over.
Mm.
So that was pretty much a lot, and they'd all come and eat.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, she'd call the place up. She'd call the place in Baltimore up, and she'd say, "This is, Mrs. Harmon," and she'd say, I want two bushels," and they knew, don't give me what you cooked 2-3 hours ago. They would throw them in the minute she called, to have them ready and basket up. And I mean a bushel basket, not some of these little baskets you see that around here now. I mean a bushel basket. She'd get either one or two, and they would know not to put those crabs in until she called, because then my dad would be there in half an hour, 20 minutes. Don't be giving her nothing you cooked hours ago, but she could tell. And she was a good customer for them. Years and years and years. That's how I learned how to do crabs and eat crabs.
Mm. That's awesome. Thank you for doing this. Your answer, like, this is going so great. Like,
I thought it'd be a good idea.
this is a great idea, Grandma. I'm so glad you ordered these. Who did you spend the most time with when you were a kid that you remember?
Well, my oldest half sister that I couldn't stand, she had a daughter that was only about a year younger than me, maybe 2 years younger than me. And so when we were I was maybe about 8 years old. She was about 6 or 7, something like that, and I was about 9. And we made our fun. We made our toys, and we made horses. We would go and we'd get a big long stick, a limb or stick or whatever, and my dad would cut it all down and cut the leaves and little sprigs off, and he'd get us a rope like clothesline or something, and he'd have a notch, and he'd make a groove around one end of it, and we'd tie it around, and that was our horse. And we'd have boxes and all kinds of stuff that we'd sit around, and that would be our rooms or our cabins or something. And we would just run all over the place. And I swear to God, I remember, you know how a guy will take a car and he'll go and cut in and blow sand or blow dirt up, spinning the wheels. I did that with a stick horse. I thought I was a badass. I'd come riding in on my stick, and I'd go and blow sand on a stick horse.
Grandma's a real cowboy.
That was before they sold them that had heads.
Right, the new ones you see
Yeah,
now.
somebody eventually, well, back over even then, eventually somebody, I think for Christmas or something, bought me one that had a head on it. I didn't know why that.
Did your family have any holiday traditions? I guess back, like, when you were a kid, not now.
Well, we were allowed to open up one gift on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
Yeah, we were allowed not carry that on to my kids. Most of the time, I didn't know that they opened them up and checked them out while I was gone. found that out about a couple years ago. This is no lie. His father and his father's sister, my other daughter. There's what, 6 years between them. Years difference in age. They would unwrap some of the gifts under the tree when they knew I was going to be gone for hours, and wrap them back up and knew what they was getting before Christmas even came. Sometimes they would do that.
Bad. They were bad.
I can tell you who the ringleader was on that one too.
That was my dad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh man. Yeah. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Let me know if you want to take a break too.
No, I'm enjoying this.
Okay,
I'm
good.
enjoying this. This is bringing some crazy shit up.
What was your childhood home like?
Well, it was crowded. Like I said, my mother owned and operated a private nursing home. My mother owned it and operated the largest privately owned nursing home in Howard County. Most of your nursing homes were some big, fancy nursing home with about 40, 50 people and was owned by different investors. My mother had a huge house, and she had rooms built onto it. And she had like about 18 rooms. And
Wow.
most of the rooms were big enough for either 2 or 3 patients. And like I said, she was a psychiatric nurse. She started out at St. Agnes. No, wait a minute. Started out at Sykesville. And then from after there, when she moved down into Howard County, hadn't moved down to Howard County, she worked over at, what did I say, the other one?
You said Sykesville. Oh my God, you just said it. I'm sorry.
Spring Grove. Over
okay.
in Spring Grove, it was a mental. It had different cottages, and it had one huge, gray brick place that, I mean, they were crazy in there. There was like 5 stories, and if you even parked in front of that place, you'd look up and they'd be hanging out the bars and arms and everything, and yelling all kinds of crazy stuff. That was the real bad ones. But she didn't work in there.
Great.
She worked in the cottages where they were just a little crazy.
Because you hear psychiatric, you think like, okay, these folks are missing a few marbles.
Well,
you know what I mean?
yeah, that's a mental hospital.
Right.
She was that kind of nurse.
You just think of the worst.
Where your Aunt Donna, my daughter, your dad's sister, she works with maternal child care. She works with in the NICU, high-risk pregnancies, things like that.
Yeah.
And my grandmother worked with over with the mental patients too.
Dang.
What was the original question? You asked me something about.
The original question was your childhood home, and you started bringing up.
Oh,
yeah.
well, yeah, she had that private nursing home, and it wasn't any. I mean, she got ones that wasn't real crazy. They were just old people that their family didn't have time or patients or whatever to take care of them, and they just needed someone to be there, feed them, dress them, see that they got bathed, things like that. Wasn't nothing to sit down at the table and have a couple of them come and sit and talk and eat. And I grew up like that.
Irish, by the way, thank you for that extra gifted and software. Thank you for the 5 gifted W software in the chat.
I hope I'm not boring you guys, am I?
Oh, no. And
Am I boring them?
Listen, we'll cut the stream off before they say something slick. Don't worry.
no.
This is me and you right now, Grandma. No, they're having a good time. You can read the chat if you want to.
Okay.
They're loving it. Did you have any pet? Dang, you're not even gonna cheers me? Hold on, wait. Let me get my Madugans. I brought a little something special for this occasion.
It spilled on my pants.
Cheers.
What is that?
Little tequila. Good googa-mugga. Did you have any pets as a kid?
Yes, I did. My first pet was a little chihuahua.
Ooh.
And it was so funny. We had over 10 acres. And we lived, it wasn't a development. It was just like this house had 10 acres, that house had 5 acres. It was like a down the road thing. We had over 10 acres and a good, I'd say a good 7 acres was woods. Plus, our woods backed up to everybody else's woods. And my dad, being from Virginia, he would hunt squirrel. And I was like about 13. Well, we had a dog. My brother had a dog named Shep. It was a German Shepherd. A friend gave him to him, and he was retired from the military. And it was the craziest thing. Every time he would hear a plane go over, we lived near close enough to an airport they used to fly over. Every time he heard a plane, he would lay down and play dead. That's what he had been trained to do in the military. He'd lay down and play dead. We didn't know what the hell he was doing until someone told us.
Because that's what everyone's supposed to do, is get down, because it might be a raid.
Well, they gotta play dead so that they think no one's there alive that's gonna be any worth shooting, I guess, or anything. He was trained to lay down and play dead. Anyhow, that was my brother's. But then, and then we end up having a collie. But my first dog that I had was a little Chihuahua. She was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. She had had a couple puppies, and the lady didn't want to, train her anymore, have her anymore. And a friend of the family's got her and gave her to me. And I remember one day, and she was a little skinny thing, maybe about 3 pounds, like the size of a squirrel, maybe a little bigger. And I remember when my dad would shoot and kill squirrels, my mom would skin them. My dad would skin them, and gut them and everything. My mother would soak them overnight in salt water. That's just what you did with wild animals to get the wild taste out, from what I understand. I never ate deer or anything like that.
Okay.
And I remember I had eaten squirrel and rabbit. But after I got Cream Puff, that was her name, after I got her, when I opened up the thing and I looked and I saw those 2 squirrels laying in that water, that looked like a miniature Cream Puff had been skinned and in that water.
No.
I could not eat another piece of squirrel after that. That was it. I was done.
Did you freak out at first? You were like,
no, I just looked and was ready to pass out. So pretty much what it was.
Right.
I looked and I thought, and then I never ate another piece of squirrel in my life.
Cream Puff. Did you name it?
No, that's what her name was when she came. She was 4 years old, so I kept the name. It was cute.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Do you have any members of your extended family that you were close to?
You mean like my immediate family? My sister Hazel and Joe.
I think, it says, did you have any members of your extended family that you were close to? So
Well, I guess, okay, my dad's sister, her name was Daisy. And that was her real name. But Dad didn't know that at the time when Hazel nicknamed me Daisy and everything, because by the time I met Aunt Daisy, I was already like 3, 4 years old and already had that nickname. But he had a sister and her name was Daisy. And we were real close. She was a really nice person. Out of all his family, her and his mother, I was the closest to.
Nice. Here we go. We're about halfway done these. Where did you go to elementary school?
I went to Ellicott City Elementary.
Ellicott City. Can I ask you, what was, just an off question, what was your favorite subject in school? That's her snoring. Don't. That's the dog snoring.
It was my favorite subject. I always liked English. I liked history. Those were my favorite. History and English. And still was right on through school.
That's the ones you always pick when we're playing Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? You love picking those.
Up to Ellicott City Elementary.
I like this one. What was your happiest memory from your childhood?
Oh, Lord. Wasn't that many, honey. Let me tell you. Happiest memory.
Probably with Hazel or something, yeah.
Probably was, but I do remember one thing. When I was about they had like the Mayfair dance back in my day at school. We'd have a big pole and they would string stuff down from it and you'd go in and out with each other and all like that. And they called it the May Day. And it would be done, of course, in May. And I remember this cute guy. We were like in the fourth grade, maybe third or fourth grade.
No, it's just funny here. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Look, they're talking about some ooh la la.
And the girls just loved him. All the girls loved him. And I was cute. But, I mean, he didn't look like that picture you all have seen before, but I looked cute. I was okay. But I remember all the girls just thought he was all that in a bag of chips. And he got to pick who he wanted to be his partner for the Mayfair. And he picked me.
Aw. Aw.
And I looked at him and says, "Take that, bitches." Because I never run after him. I was a kid. Third, fourth grade, something. I might even been almost the first grade. Wait a minute, I don't even think, no, it wasn't the fourth grade. It was like the second grade. Yeah. And he picked me to be his partner, and we would do the in and out Mayfair thing and all, but he picked me over them. I thought, take that, bitches. And he was a cutie. In fact, I got a picture someplace of me and him that someone took that day and blew it up to an 8x10. It's somewhere in this house.
We'll find it. We'll scavenge this house. We'll rip the floorboards up if we have to. What are your most memorable moments from elementary school?
That was one of them. Another one was where they had this merry-go-round. And it was one of these old-time merry-go-rounds that you ran and ran and ran and then jumped on it and it went around and around and around.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I fell off one time. And somehow or another, it had bars underneath of it, underneath the seats. That summit rolled over my head.
Oh, my
I
God.
fell off that thing. Everybody was running and doing that and all like that. I couldn't do it. The boys were mostly doing it. And they had that thing spinning around so much, my little bony ass had just threw me off and I went under. And I remember my head got stuck and got there on the ground and this bar went over top of it. It didn't hurt me, but I felt the bar. And one smart ass boy said, "Well, that's what you get for running too fast," or something. He said some smart. I'd bust him in the face now, but some kid said that to me. He says, "Well, that's what you get for pushing it so fast." I didn't do it. The boys did it.
It's always the boys.
Yeah.
Who actually? Yeah, who were your childhood friends? Or, if anything, describe your best friend.
My childhood friends was two guys that lived right down the road. I can't say street, because we were, in the country, or semi-country. And it's so crazy. My birthday was on the 15th of March. The one boy's birthday was on the 14th of March. And the other boy right next to him was on the 16th of March.
No way.
And I swear to God, it was Gary Dunham and Henry Swing.
Boom. Doxed.
Yep. And we were all three right in a row. All in the same age, just one day apart.
That's awesome. And it's just you guys grew up same
Yep.
neighborhood?
Yep,
Yeah.
they'd come up, because there wasn't nobody else around, no girls or anything that much. And they'd come up, they'd bring their sled. Henry would bring his sled, and we had a very long, steep driveway. And he would come up and take me down, riding down, when we was like, 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that, and go down the driveway on the sled. And Gary, he had like a little creek in the back behind his house, his property. And I'd go over there and we'd go back and we'd catch minnows, baby minnows and stuff and all like that.
Nothing wrong with that. The good old days, man. Back when everybody would go outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your favorite childhood games or toys?
Well, my horse was my favorite. My horse that had no head. Oh, I used to love jacks. Oh my God, and I was so damn good at it.
You talking about the ball? You bounce the ball, try to get it
Bounce
in.
the ball. I mean, I had them. I have them all over the place. I was good. I'd go in and out. I showed myself off. My niece, the one I told you that we'd ride the horses together, she was like 2 years younger than me. Her and I would sit in the middle of the one room area and we'd just play jacks for hours.
Mm.
People would have to step over us to get through the room.
I haven't played jacks in so long.
Oh, God.
Did any of your childhood friends remain a friend your whole life?
No, not really. I've had some that has reached out to me after what do you call it? When you have these meetings every couple of years, what's it called?
Reunions.
Reunions.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them have reached out to me and everything through the years. And I've gone to a couple, reunions, but most of them have died. Yeah, that's a scary thought. So, passed away and passed on and everything.
Right. Right.
One lived right down the street here and passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. I remember him telling, I don't know if it was Fred or if it was Donna. He told him, he said, your mom was the prettiest girl in school. He said all the boys just loved to hang around her, and she could sing so well, because I had a couple contests singing. Well, I can't now, but I could then before I started smoking. They said she used to go and get in these singing contests and win them and everything, and she was good to everybody. It didn't matter if you had money or if you was poor or what you were. She was friends with everybody. He said, that's what I remember about your mom. She was good to everybody. I didn't know they thought of me that way, but that's a guy that had grew up with me.
Mm.
I hadn't seen him for 10 years. And he told her, he said, she was just so nice to everybody. He said she wasn't stuck up like the rest of them.
We kind of got a little bit of this earlier, which is okay, but what did you do for fun when you were a kid?
Wasn't a whole lot to do other than just playing with my, my cousins.
Right.
Wasn't a lot to do. It's not like it is today.
Right, but there's so much to do.
We used to play hide and seek, and
Right.
we'd make the games there. It wasn't like all this stuff here. We play hide and seek. We play, I can't think of the name of the damn games.
Tag, probably, but
Well, tag and stuff and all like that. I remember another thing, getting back to one of the crazy things that my sister Hazel, the one that named me, I was about 8 years old and we had chickens. And we must have had close to, I don't know, 70, 80 chickens. And it was a big chicken house that my dad had built. And they had a big fence to keep all the chickens in that area. And she had me go out and get the eggs. And I was always afraid of the chicken pecking me and all like that. She says, don't worry what you do. If the hen is still on the nest, she said, you just look her right in the eye and just slowly put your hand under there and get the egg, and that's it. Little did she say. Well, I had a big old basket of eggs. There was this one chicken, they call them Dominecker chickens. That's when they're black with white specks. And this bitch was sitting on the nest. So I thought, okay, I'll do what Hazel said. And I had a whole big basket of eggs. And I looked at her, and you got to figure I'm about 8 years old, maybe 7, 8 years old, and probably maybe weighed 60 pounds soaking wet. And I went and looked at her, And I took my hand and I stuck it under there. And just as my hand hit that bitch's eggs, she pecked me right dead here between my eyes. Them frickin' ass eggs went up in the air basket and everything was gone.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hazel was pissed. I said, I did what you told me to do.
Oh man, poor grandma.
And I had a leghorn, a white leghorn rooster. My mother used to, it was back in the day, you could go down to the place down in Ellicott City, and they had all kinds of stuff you buy out for outside and all like that. And at Easter time, they'd have these baby peepees. And they'd be all different colors, green, pink, purple, whatever. And she'd always get me about half a dozen of them. You know, that's when they grew up, they ended up being in the pen and all. Well, this one was a rooster. Ended up being a rooster. You couldn't tell when they were little until they grew up. And this one was a damn white leghorn rooster. And they have spurs on the back of their things. And that son of a bitch, the minute you hit that outside, he would chase you all the way to the. I had a big, tall, long ass sliding board. It wasn't a normal one. Thing looked like it was about 2 stories high. And you know, my brother used to put wax paper on it and slide down the wax paper. Everything had to be fast with Uncle Joe. I couldn't. I put it on there and I went clear into that side of the house. But anyway, but I would hit that back door and I'd have to watch where it was because somebody would chase me all the way to that sliding board, and I'd have to sit up there and yell for my mother or dad to come and chase him away so I could get down and go back in that house. Son of a bitch.
Oh, poor grandma.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, is there any movies and any movies, music, and books that you enjoy as a kid? What kind of movies, music, and books?
Well, TV came out. That's how far back I go. TV hadn't been out too long before Mom bought a TV. I remember it was just so fascinating for me to sit there and watch TV. And every night at 12 o'clock, they play the national anthem. Every night, 12 o'clock, it was shut down. There was no more movies, nothing after 12. That was it. They played the American, God Bless America, whatever the American was, a song they sang back then. God Bless America and all that. Anyway, but I used to watch different shows on there. There was Amos and Andy. And there was, that was a black family that had a show, funny as it could be. There was Aunt Jemima. She was on there with a white family. She was supposed to be one of the cooks or something. I think she played that role. But she was famous back then. And her kids today are very upset that they took her off the syrup, because that was a very prestigious, very popular thing to be done to someone back then. And that was an honor for her to be put on the first and only person to ever be put on a thing of syrup. And that was an honor back then. And her family's real upset. I understand. I heard it on the news a couple of weeks ago. Her family's very upset that was voted on years back. What, 10 years ago, something like that?
Less than that. It wasn't even that long ago, it feels like.
And they took her off the front of the of being a picture of her to be on the syrup and everything. And they should be, because that was an honor. I mean, that was really some big thing for that to be done for her. Ask her to do that. And she did it willingly. It wasn't a racist thing. They weren't making fun of her. That was an honor back then. It still would have been until some idiot.
It did seem different, right? It was like, why that? I was very confused.
Because it was a black lady, and she was a heavyset black lady, and she had a picture of her on the front of the syrup.
I was very
The syrup
confused
and
by
everything. And just ignorant people just can't leave things well alone. But her family's pissed about it. They ought to make them bring it back. I don't blame them. I mean, that was an honor back then. It wasn't something to be racist or anything.
They said my mom kept the bottle in honor, and we still refill it. That's awesome.
Are you serious?
Yeah, send a
Do you
picture.
have any idea what that's probably worth?
Send a picture of that in Discord. I want to see that.
Yeah, that's probably worth money.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't get that.
Just ignorant people.
Did you? Well, I know the answer to this. You just said it, but did you ever get seriously injured as a kid?
Yeah, that was
and
it.
that one story right there. Yeah, that
Yeah,
covered
that
that.
was it.
Where'd you attend high school?
Howard County High School.
Howard County High School.
Yep, Howard County High School.
Did you have any influential teachers or coaches as a kid?
My music teacher that didn't want to call me Daisy. Her and I got real close. I was in the chorus. And back then I was a good singer. But I was an alto because my voice is low. But she ended up being the sweetest thing. But she was very influential. And also one of my English teachers was very influential. Oh, and another teacher that taught core. I forget what the subjects were. There was 2 subjects that were together and they were called core. And the teacher was a younger teacher. She hadn't been a teacher very long. And she went to Hood College, which is up here in Montgomery County, I think. And I think it's Montgomery County. And it was an all-girls college. And I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it became co-ed. And my granddaughter just got her master's degree at Hood College.
Yeah, shout out to her. She's like the
She
NASA
is a
scientist.
walking brain.
We have my cousin. Her
Biotechnology.
like working in
I
the
don't know what
lab.
the frick that is. Biotech and some other kind of tech thing. I mean, really deep into science. I mean, it's just crazy. She's a walking brain. She's 5'8". And her one boyfriend said she's a walking brain.
We always knew she was going to be like something special though, like something like she's good. Like she's.
Well, you guys are all smart. You are too. You just go into a different genre, what do you want to call it? You're very smart, Jesse. You know you are. I don't tell you enough, maybe, but you know, yeah, you might not like school smart, but when it's technology, he's very smart. Now, his one sister, Grace, is good. I mean, she can sew, and she was helping girls. Girls would come to her and get them to tailor their dresses for dances in high school. She would go into when she was 15 and 16, she would go into a swap shop, pick out a bunch of clothes, re-alter them, and sell them online. The girls, you know, that's her thing. The other sister, he's got triplet sisters, the other sister is an artist. I mean, she can draw, and most artists usually pick one thing. They're either good at scenery or people's faces or something like that. She could draw anything. She can draw an animal that looks like it's ready to jump off the paper at you. I had no idea she had that talent. She was doing this at 14 and 15 years old in the privacy of her bedroom, just doing it. And when she got to high school and she needed to pick up a class, an extra class, you know, one of the is for 1 point or 2 points, whatever. No majors. It was just, I forget what they call it when it's just, so she thought, well, I'll pick art. And after the art teacher seen her ability, she said, oh no, honey, you've got to come up to, you know, art 1 or art 4, whatever it was. She put her up into the highest art class. She says, where did you ever take lessons? And no, she never did, but she makes pictures of stuff that's crazy. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Fruit, people's faces, you wouldn't believe the details. And then the other one, she's very mechanical. She's a welder. Get that? She welds,
Yeah.
and she's done that since she was, what, 15?
Yeah, she started the trade school when she was in high school. You know, like
Yeah.
with some high schools, I don't know if it's the same for y'all, chat, but you can go to this trade school halfway through your
Yeah,
high school.
Votech.
Yeah, like a Votech, a trade center, and that's what she did for welding.
And she kind of caught the liking for it, and she can do anything. And now she works making like 25, almost 30, 25, $28 an hour, working for a union,
Yeah.
and she's only 22.
Yeah.
And that ain't bad. So I mean, they're all got their thing, but Jesse was always the tech guy. They want anything done, anything to do with the computer, they got to come to him.
Kinda. Like, I'm not deep into coding. I can't.
No, you're pretty deep.
I go hook up an HDMI cable to a PlayStation though. I could do that.
But the music and everything, this is all stuff that he's just picking up new along the way. But he was into music and everything and all. You're very, very tech savvy. Don't sell yourself short, babe.
Oh, thank you. You're gassing me up. Ooh, what did you want
Now
to?
me, I could sell igloos to Eskimos. That's what one manager said. He said he had a meeting, and I had done a lot of selling this one month. I mean, it was pretty large amount. I ended up being in the multi-million-dollar club. Anyway, and he told him when he says this girl can she sell houses? Says she can sell igloos to Eskimos. That's what he told the office. I couldn't believe he embarrassed the hell out of me. So igloos to Eskimos. That's pretty good.
Another sip? Oh, no, wait. You gotta cheers me, Grandma.
Me cheering you, you're gonna get drunk drinking that stuff.
No, I'm taking sips of this. I ain't taking full shots. Little sips, chap. I ain't trying to hurt nothing. Cheers.
You better not spill none in mine.
Cheers, chap. Delicious. Ready for the next one?
Yes.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I wanted to be a nurse. Mother was a nurse. My grandmother was a nurse. And when I was in high school, they had this program called the Candy Stripers.
Okay.
Called Candy Stripers, or I don't think they called us the Candy Stripers. They may have said Candy Stripers. But anyway, they were little striped uniforms they had all of us to have on when we'd have our weekly meetings and all. Anyway, so one of the trips just one trip that they had set up for us was to go to St. Agnes Hospital on the outskirts of Baltimore in the emergency room. And I'm standing there, and they brought this guy in, and he was kind of half on his stomach. And what had happened, the story that was told to me was, or told to all of us was, is that his girlfriend had caught him cheating. And when he went to meet her the next day or a day or so later, she met him at the door with a sawed-off shotgun. This is in Baltimore, is where they lived. And he went to turn and run, and when he did, she shot him in the back. Well, the back looked pretty bad as he was coming up. They was put him on the table. But as a young girl, I didn't know that when you shoot, it's where it comes out at. So the back looked bad enough. When they turned him over and laid him on the table, his whole chest looked like a cannon had shot out. You could see his heart beating and little ligaments like that. And I looked and I saw that, and the last thing I remember is they said she's turning green. I didn't know they were talking to me because I had passed out. They had me in the next sheet of the curtain and had me in the next bed.
Jeez.
I had passed out. So that was the end of my career as a nurse.
Finished before you started.
It didn't fly for me. I couldn't handle that gruesome shit. But I ended up working out of there. I ended up working in the personnel department at the University of Maryland. Didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, I worked in the personnel office at the University of Maryland for quite a few years, and then I got into being a hairdresser.
Right.
Then from there on, it went to real estate.
Yeah. Here's a good one. What was in style when you were in school? Like shoes, brands. What was the
Well, when I was in young, it was like those white shoes with white and black. I forget what you call them.
Converse? Chuck Taylor? You said white shit, white and black. I don't know. I'm thinking of a Chuck Taylor.
That wasn't even there and invented then.
I
I
don't know.
forget what they called them. I forget what they called them. But anyway, penny loafers is one. Penny loafers was a shoe that was in style. And your poodle skirts. You had skirts on with a damn poodle on it. I can't believe it. I wasn't crazy about that kind of stuff. I was more for tailored type clothes. I was stylish, but it was more tailored. Now I did have go through a thing that they used to have a little monkey or bear or something with arms that would go around your ankles. It was about this big, and you'd put it around your ankle and walk up and down to school. It was supposed to be cool. I did venture out to that. Most of mine was just regular pleated, short pleated skirts or more conservative type styles. I didn't go too far out in that way crazy shit. That wasn't me. I was stylish, but it wasn't too goofy.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Were you ever given any special awards for your studies or school activities?
Yes. I was editor of the school newspaper.
Hey now.
Yeah, I was editor of the school
now.
newspaper. And I was in charge of the one main thing called the Tattler. That means I went around, and if I heard any gossip or anything going on, it had to be the truth. But if I heard any gossip and all like that, I could print it up and everything. But I was, there was a couple of us that operated the in the paper, but I was the head dog. And so that was a school newspaper. I was also in the school choir for 4 years. Got knowledge for that, plaques for that. I was in sports. I was basketball. I played forward. I did that for 2 years. And then I also did field hockey. And did that for a couple years. Baseball, first base. And let me see what else. Trying to think. I won awards for like talent shows.
What'd you do at a talent show?
Sing.
Ooh. What song? Yeah, what song did you sing?
Let me think.
You going
In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. Took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we met the bloody British in the town in New Orleans. Fired our guns and the British kept a coming. British kept a coming. What was it? Fired our guns and the British kept a coming.
Hey.
It was a while ago. I don't know.
That was pretty good for on the spot. For on the spot, that was good.
Ran through the rooms and they ran through the bushes, and they ran through the bushes where the rabbits couldn't go. Fired our guns and the British kept it coming.
Oh man.
Down the road to Buffalo or something.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Ready for this fast pitch right here. Did your relationship change with your family in your teenage years?
Oh yeah, I couldn't stand my mother.
Couldn't stand your mother?
Couldn't stand my mother. I wouldn't do much better after living my whole life. I used to go to my sister's. I would get so mad at her. I could only do it in the summer though. But my sister, the one that was the closest to, that named me Daisy, I would go to her house and I'd stay for weeks at a time just to get away from my mother. She was just absolute. I wasn't allowed to date till I was almost 18 years old. You realize how crazy that is when everybody else bought me a car for graduation, or before graduation, she bought me the car in my senior year, and I couldn't drive after dark. Is that the craziest shit you ever heard? bought me a car, and a brand new too, honey. It wasn't used. It was a brand new Mercury Comet, '64 Mercury Comet,
Mm.
63 or 60. Yeah, '64 Mercury Comet,
Mm.
and couldn't drive after dark. Oh wow.
Where did you hang out with your friends, and how did you spend time together?
Okay, up in what was the name of that Valley something? It was some drive-in thing. Like it was kind of like a McDonald's. And it was on a different scale. Varsity Grill. That was the name of it. It was about 10 miles, 15 miles from the house. It was called Varsity Grill. It was one of them things where you go and you just drive around. You know, some people parked and ate and all, but a lot of us would just drive around, talking and saying hi as we went past.
Mm.
That was the good old days. We would just drive around in circles,
Yeah.
drive all the way around.
Dang.
Also, I got to be friends, didn't date him, he wanted to date, but I got to be friends with this real rich guy, and his dad played golf. And he had a GT, something.
Mustang?
No, what a Mustang, it was something else, I think. Anyway, it was a GT something. It was a fast car anyway. And I was able to go up with him one day, and he wanted to play a game of golf and wanted to spend time with me, but I wanted to ride in the golf cart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
They said
what?
They said grandma putting people in the friend zone.
What?
Grandma hitting them with the stiff arm.
Hey,
That's all right.
I
Listen.
was tickled death to ride around the golf cart. That was something you got to understand. Back in my day, my mother didn't let me do shit. So riding around a golf cart, I mean, you'd have thought I was in a Cadillac or something.
Right. Speaking of your mom not allowing you to do anything, what rebellious things did you do as a teenager?
Not much, and lived. You didn't get too rebellious around my mother and make it through the day.
You had to have done something though, like whether it was sneaking food in the middle of the night, like there was something you did.
No, let me see. Not yet. The only one thing, and it wasn't really rebellious, it was an accident. I went to the movies, and I had to be home by 11 o'clock, and I fell asleep. And so did the guy in the movies, and we didn't wake up till like about 11:30.
Oh my goodness.
We was hauling ass getting home.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that was some bad shit, honey. That was some bad shit. That bitch was waiting at the door with me with us.
Right. I know.
She used to make me, she didn't do it when I got older, but she would make me go out as a kid growing up. Like I said, we had a lot of woods behind. That woman would make me go out and get 2 sticks. And they better be able to snap. Limber. I had to get 2 sticks. And they better be limber sticks to where she would take both of them and beat me. Mostly on my legs and my back. And then wanted to come live with me when she got old. I thought, fuck this.
Hit her with a stiff arm.
my dad and I were dating, but I couldn't. Before my mom died, I mean, she had her good things. It was far and few in between. But
It's like you're talking about a demon, right? It's like you just gotta chill.
he was awful.
We don't gotta talk about her. What was your most memorable date as a teenager? I know you said you couldn't date till you were 17, but was there one that really
Date. Let me see.
stuck out to you?
Probably the one when we fell asleep in the
Right.
No, there was this one where she would let me go. She would know that I had a boyfriend, but I couldn't go out with him. Now, if there was a school dance or something, I'd meet him at the school dance, and this was when I was 16 and 17. Dad would drive me to the school dance, and because it was usually dark, but 15 and 16, he'd drive me to the school dance, and I'd meet the guy there and everything. And George Solschenberger. He was a real good looking. All my men in my life was good looking. I didn't do ugly. You've heard God don't like ugly? I don't either.
There you go.
Any boyfriend I had, whether I could go out on a date with him or not, makeshift boyfriend at high school, whatever, all of them were good looking.
Love that.
I figured if I was going to pick one, it wasn't going to be somebody ugly.
I love that for you, Grandma. Ooh,
That's good because your father was gorgeous growing up.
My dad was a handsome man for having some crazy ass teeth. You kill football through my dad.
Well, that's because he kept breaking them off. And you every one of them.
Gap. Chat, my dad's gap was serious. I had a crazy
It wasn't
gap
that
too.
big a gap. You all were born with gaps.
Yeah, I think I got braces.
That was his
I got
birth
braces.
thing. He had a gap.
The gap was nice though. Like the more I saw it, I was like, dang, like
He had a gap. His sisters, all three of them, had gaps. He spent $5,000 a piece for all them kids for braces, and every one of them closed their gap. But that's, I mean, you know, I had his gap done. I had it done to where they did like a thing, I forget what they call it, to where they did it, you know, to where they didn't put braces on, because the rest of his teeth were fine. But they put this extra enamel on to fill that gap. Son of a bitch, if you didn't go and get hit in the mouth with a beer bottle and cracked it up.
goodness gracious. Did you work as a teenager? And if so, what did you do?
Yes, when I was 16, there was a store up the street from us, up the road from us, I should say, not street, up the road from us. Mrs. Johnson, she didn't have any children. Her husband and her, well, he had passed away, and it was Johnson's little, it was just a little store. It had like, it made subs for the workers when they came in and got subs on their lunch hour, and it was a little tiny, little small, you know, just a little grocery place, not a big grocery store, nothing, just a little old. And I was a cashier.
I feel like that's always the best first job. Nice cashier job.
Yep, I was a cashier.
Something simple.
I was 16 years old. I was a cashier.
And when you were working that job, right? What did you spend your money on? What would the paychecks go to?
God, I don't remember. Probably buying stuff after I got out of the store from the store. I don't remember. I wasn't allowed to go too many places, so I don't really remember.
Oh, you brought it up. What your first car? What was your first car again?
It was a 1964, 64, or 65. You made me forget what the hell it was.
Pontiac?
No. Hold on, I'll think of it. Come on, guys. What did I say my first car was?
GC?
No, that was
the other guy's car. Mercury?
Mercury Comet.
Thank you, revenue agent.
Mercury Comet.
Tell me about it. Like, what was the inside look like? What colors were it? And what's the?
It was like a deep cranberry.
Ooh.
Yeah, it wasn't like bright cranberry. It was a real deepish purple cranberry, almost the color of a purple cherry. Deep purple cherry. You know.
That's a nice color. That's a really nice color.
I picked it out, babe.
There you go.
Yeah. And for a couple months before I was even allowed to go out on the road with it or get a license, we had a big circular area in our property, and I drove around in circles for months, up and down the driveway. Oh, I was adventurous.
This took a dark turn, but when was your first car accident?
My first car accident?
Yeah, like what?
Okay, let me think. Oh, okay. That was when I had, I didn't have that. Yeah, that was when I was in my early 20s. No, not early 20s. I was in high school. I was in that car. I was driving to
She just run,
Oh,
turn in her cage.
we lived in Harrod County, and I was driving to Laurel area to go to the mall, and I had two guys that had been drinking in one of the places on the side, going down the road. They pulled out in front of me, and it was at the top of a hill, and I couldn't see who was coming over the hill. And it was raining, and they pulled out in front of me. I slammed on my brakes, but they pulled out in front of me and slammed on their brakes, and that made me hit them. It was their fault, not mine. But my face, the steering wheel, and then there was a middle circle thing, middle wheel. And my face hit that up under here and up under here.
Ow.
And it kind of knocked me half out. And I woke up in the hospital. And I was only in there a couple of days. But unfortunately, my whole gum was black from being bruised. My gum was black, and my lip had to have a couple stitches here. And because it hit me up here, it blacked both my eyes a little bit. Not a real bad, but it blacked both my eyes. The only problem with that, our school pictures were due in a week.
Oh my goodness.
Our senior pictures were due.
The senior picture? Oh my God.
Were due in less than a week to be taken. So I had to pack on the makeup.
Nah, it's...
The swelling went down, thank God, but I had to pack on the makeup because my eyes, all underneath here was black. Because it hit me right up under the nose.
Yeah.
In fact, they said it would have been better if it had broke my nose. It didn't break my nose. It jammed my nose to where my devious septums. To this day, I have issues with my devious septums.
From that accident?
From that accident.
Jeez. Goodness gracious, Grandma. You had...
And this is just my first 18 years. We ain't got into the rest of the
I was about to say, we ain't even got into the middle life yet. Goodness. Go mugga.
That was my first accident, but it wasn't my fault.
What were your favorite books, films, and music when you were a teenager?
Oh, any kind of rock and roll, whatever was in style, rock and roll. I was a dancer.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
How'd you dance to rock and roll? Were you just like...
Jitterbug.
Hit a little jitterbug on them?
Jitterbug.
Can you teach me how to jitterbug?
Yeah, I could.
I don't know how to jitterbug.
I could teach you.
Yeah, we got to do that one day.
Not in front of anybody. I was a dancer. That's what I loved. I was a dancer. I won several dance contests. Several. And it was all rock and roll stuff, whatever was in style at the time. That was what I liked.
Who were the most famous celebrities when you were growing up? Pretty good question.
Can't think of the names. Let me see. Fabian.
Fabian who?
Fabian, that was his name. Fabian. He was really a good-looking guy. He was an actor. And, God, let me think of their names. I know their faces. Can't think of their names.
Dean Martin. I'm just kidding. No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead and say Frank Sinatra. No, that's before me. Okay, Fabian and oh God, Ricky oh God, what the hell's his name? Ricky Martin or Ricky somebody. And lipstick on her collar. Who's that? Connie Stevens.
Connie Stevens.
Connie Stevens and what was that one that sing? Oh God, I can't think of their names. I know their faces right in front of me. I can't think of their names. We'll have to do this over again one time when I get Connie Stevens. Isn't that awful?
Was it so were celebrities back then, it was more like you had to do music, be an actor, or be like on like I guess a mayor, a politician or something. Like that was the ways you were famous. Like what were
It was mostly,
well,
it was
sports
mostly,
athletes too, right?
yeah. Well, that's always like that. But
Right.
it was a lot of it was music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, nowadays anyone can be famous. It's
Oh yeah, they can go in any different direction. But back then, you were limited. But music was usually it. Now, I was never a big Elvis Presley fan. I liked him, but I didn't get in there and scream and carry on and pee myself like the
a
girls
lot of
did.
girls did though.
Oh, they did. They
They
acted
loved
crazy.
him.
My mother didn't allow it. If she seen me standing at the TV screaming, she'd back slap me like a.
Well, he was controversial for the time, right? Because he showed. I think it was the first artist to
He
show his
was
hips.
he was showing his legs. They would have him on TV on the Ed Sullivan Show. They'd have him, and the minute he started moving his hips and barely moved them, they would cut just back to his face. Can you
Wow.
believe that shit?
Grandma was mad. Grandma was like, wait, I'm trying to see something.
No, it's just that he hardly moved
Right,
his
I know what you
legs,
mean.
and now they're showing their ass and everything else,
Yeah, it's a different
and a
world now.
bag of chips and showing it all. And all he was doing was moving his legs. He wasn't really doing that much of his hips.
Right. I heard also Elvis stole a lot of music. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that got a lot of inspiration. Let's just say that for his music.
You mean he stole music from other people?
Yeah,
No, I never heard that.
I heard it. I don't like I said I don't know if it's true, but
No, I don't think it's true.
regardless.
I don't think it's true. They always gotta have something to say about something. I don't think it's true.
Well,
Frankie Avalon. That was another
Who's
one
that?
of the guys. That was another one of the guys. Frankie Avalon. Singer. When I was a kid.
when you were a teenager, actually, no. What advice would you give to you as a teenager now? Or no, I'm sorry. What advice would you give a teenager now?
Hide.
Hide.
Hide. Put a bag over your head and hide. No, I'm joking. No, just keep yourself busy. Don't. I'm joking. Don't take yourself so serious. I mean, enjoy your life. Don't do anything wrong. Don't get any way to get your ass in jail, because I don't care what you look like to somebody in jail. You're gonna be pretty. You know what I'm saying, girls and guys? So, don't ruin your life. Don't do anything stupid. Whatever you do, enjoy yourself. Just don't do anything stupid and end up in jail. And watch who your company is. They always told me, you show, what is it? You show me who your company is, and I'll show you who you are.
Yeah.
And your company you keep. And I used to think, oh, that's so stupid. The hell it is. It's a lot
It's
of
real.
truth. There's a lot of guys and gals, especially young guys in prison right now, that didn't really commit the crime, but they were there when it was done. So it's an association. Don't make it fair, but that's the way it happens. Okay? So just enjoy your life, but keep yourself straight. Get a job, keep yourself busy, have a good time, and don't do anything stupid. Don't hang around anybody that does. There's a lot of guys out there girls you can hang around with that aren't stealing cars or doing stupid shit. You think it's funny? See how much you laugh when you're looking up at Bubba 4 o'clock in the morning because he's horny. See how funny you think it is then. That's the truth. That's it.
You got it. Cheers, baby. Come on, man. You got it. Nah,
That shit just got, but it's the truth.
cheers with me, Grandma. Cheers with me.
Jesus Christ, I can't even get a drink.
Cheers, Grandma. Thank you for doing this. It's
I'm
great.
enjoying it. I thought this would be a good idea.
This is a great idea.
Get you to know your grandmother.
Yeah.
You know stuff that the other kids don't know. Oh shit.
Love you. Ooh. It tastes better when you have 3 of them.
Are they enjoying this crazy stuff, really?
Let us know, chat. I believe 99% they are. Tell me.
Get Granny giving strays to others. What is that?
No, I think they're just laughing because you said something about both. Look at him. Look at him. W stream.
Kind of making me want to go to jail.
Yo, who said that? Wait a
Like that bad?
Gibble Toe. Oh, come on, Gibble Toe. Come on, digital footprint, Gibble.
Christ, with a name like Gibble Toe, you might fit in.
Poor Gibble. Can you tell?
We love hearing grandma's stories. Thank you, guys.
Can you tell us about the time you got in the most trouble with your parents?
Oh, God, let me count the ways. I was out of school, still lived at home, and I was out. She didn't want me being out till 1, 2 in the morning, and I was like 20, 21.
Right, you were full,
And I was
full
just out
adult.
with friends. And so I had been dating this one guy that I ended up marrying. But I had been dating this one guy. And I took my car. At that time, I had a beautiful 65 Mustang convertible. Metallic blue.
Mm,
When you looked at it, the paint was like looking into the abyss.
right. Metallic is beautiful.
That metallic
Metallic
blue,
is
it looked
beautiful.
like he was looking into the future or
A
something. You
void,
could just-
right.
It was just one blue. It was like your eyes just kept going. And it was a black top, and it had black seats. And it was 60. No, it wasn't a 64. My other car was 64. This was a 66 or 67 Mustang convertible. And I hid it behind this. I didn't go in the bar, but I hid it behind this local bar, and went off with my friends. And she set my brother out, the one that I was close to, my half brother. And he didn't want to do it, but he lived there, and she threatened him to throw him out if he didn't go find my car. And she knew where she heard it was. And he went, and she gave him a set of keys that she had, and he brought my car back to the house. And when I got finished going all over the place with my friends, they took me back to my car, and my car was gone. Well, I knew where it was.
Right.
So I came up, and I had them cut their headlights off, and there was my car, and I went to get in and start it. And that bitch had my father take the, what's that round thing?
The clutch? Or no, not the clutch. The is it, you talking about stick shift?
No, the motor. It was something on the motor.
The cylinder? The timing belt?
No, honey, it was a thing on there like the...
I'm not good at cars. I'm sorry.
No, it was a round piece.
Airbox? I'm
No,
just reading. Calibrator? Carburetor? I don't know.
something like that. It fit on there, and you took it off, and the car wouldn't start. And of course, she was sitting in the kitchen. The bitch was sitting in the kitchen about 2 in the morning, and she heard me out there trying to start it.
So it would go. That's what it would do. It'd make the sounds, and you. Oh my
It
goodness.
wouldn't start. So we had us a big yelling match that night.
Mm.
And Joe was so sorry. Distributor cap.
Okay.
Yeah, took that off. That's okay. I told her, I said, I'm the one paying for this damn car. And I said, if you don't get it back together, I said, you going to be paying for it.
Oh. Okay,
So
Grandma.
the next day, she pissed me off. I'm the only one that had a mouth. Once I got started, once I got past 21, I started finding my inner anger.
Yeah.
And her sister said, she's the best one out of the 5 you got. She said she should be with me and my girls. My mother got pissed. She said, she's the only one you got's got any brains.
Mm.
She said she got tired of taking your shit, so she's mouthing back at you.
Mm.
The rest of them all just got all... Not me. I said, fuck this. Of course, I didn't say the F word, but
Right.
I ain't putting up with this shit for so much longer. She kept me under her thumb for so long. It's a wonder I didn't have bruises all over my body. Once I came out,
No coming
I
back.
sound like I'm gay. Once I came out, no. Once I came out, that's it. There was no going back. I'd done put up with it long enough.
Right. It's like a lot of resent there too, right? Because I'm
Oh,
sure
it still is.
right.
It still is. I made a lot of stupid mistakes or careless mistakes, or I won't say mistakes, but decisions because of the way I was raised and wasn't allowed to, you know things and do things. I was 21, I was like 19, 20 years old and had the mentality emotionally of a 15-year-old.
Right, because it was
I was married. Get this, I was married, I was 21 years old. And I was married, and I hadn't had a, excuse me, I think period or whatever. Anyway, my stomach was wrong. I'll go to the doctor's. And I was standing there on the thing, and I said to the doctor, I said, I don't know what's wrong. I said, I think I have an infection. I must have an infection. I didn't know what an infection was. I never had one, but I thought this was it. I said, I think I got an infection. He checked me. He says, oh, you're infected, all right. I was 2 months pregnant. Didn't even know it. That's how stupid I was at 21 years old.
well, I mean, that's you weren't stupid. I think that's kind of like a how are you supposed to know that, right?
Duh, when you don't have your period.
Oh, you did
that's
say that. You
wrong.
did say that. You did say
You
that.
know, duh.
Well, I mean, still, you were just that was probably the last thing on your mind that would ever happen to you. That's what it was. Like you weren't even thinking like I could be pregnant, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I'm just guessing here.
I was still wondering what you had to do to get pregnant. Anyway.
I I hate that this is coming to an end, but we have one more question here in the early life.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then we'll do the other two sections tomorrow or the next day, but I got
Yeah.
one more right here.
Okay, it's better be a good one.
What advice would you give your younger teenage self?
Run away. Run away. My teenage self, just hang in there. Like I did. Try not to go crazy and do anything stupid. But kind of maybe stand up more for yourself, but do it in a respectful way. You know. Go to school. Get your education. They can't take that from you. Get your education. I did. Get your education. They can't take that away from you. Keep yourself with the right set of people. And stay out of trouble. Just enjoy your life, but stay out of trouble. Like I said, you don't want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and some bubba hanging over you wanting to spoon. Oh, God.
That was good. Did you enjoy that? Was that
I did, but I don't know. Did you guys enjoy all that craziness?